calmly. I hate you to the same degree that I used to love you. I done took till my belly is full up to my neck. That's the reason I got my letter from the church and moved my membership to Woodbridge. So I don't have to take no sacrament with you. I don't want to see you around me at all. Lay round with that woman all you wants to, but go on away from me and my house. I hate you like a suck-egg dog. Sykes almost let the huge wad of cornbread and collard greens he was chewing fall out of his mouth in amazement. He had a hard time whipping himself up to the proper fury to try to answer Delia. Well, I'm glad you does hate me. I'm so tired of you hanging on to me. I don't want you. Look at your stringy old neck. Your raw, bony legs and arms is enough to cut a man to death. You look just like the devil's doll baby to me. You can't hate me no worse than I hate you. I've been hating you for years. You old black hide don't look like nothing to me but a pass of wrinkled up rubber with your big old ears flapping on each side like a pair of buzzard wings. Don't think I'm going to be run away from my house neither. I'm going to the white folks about you, my young man. The very next time you lay your hands on me, my cup is done run over. Delia said this with no signs of fear, and Sykes departed from the house, threatening her, but made not the slightest move to carry out any of them. That night he did not return at all, and the next day being Sunday, Delia was glad she did not have to quarrel before she hitched up her pony and drove the 4 miles to Woodbridge. She stayed to the night service, love feast, which was very warm and full of spirit. In the emotional winds, her domestic trials were borne far and wide so that she sang as she drove homeward. Jordan water, black and cold, chills the body, not the soul, and I want to cross Jordan in a calm time. She came from the barn to the kitchen door and stopped. What's the matter, old Satan? You ain't kicking up your racket. She addressed the snake's box. Complete silence. She went on into the house with a new hope in its birth struggles. Perhaps her threat to go to the white folks had frightened Sykes. Perhaps he was sorry. 15 years of misery and suppression had brought Delia to the place where she would hope anything that looked towards a way over or through her wall of inhibitions. She felt in the match safe behind the stove at once for a match. There was only one there. That nigga wouldn't fetch nothing here to save his rotten neck, but he can run through what I brings quick enough. Now he done told it off nigh into half a box of matches. He done had that woman here in my house, too. Nobody but a woman could tell how she knew this, even before she struck the match. But she did, and it put her into a new fury. Presently, she brought in the tubs to put the white things to soak. This time she decided she need not bring the hamper out of the bedroom. She would go in there and do the sorting. She picked up the pot-bellied lamp and went in. The room was small and the hamper stood hard by the foot of the white iron bed. She could sit and reach through the bedpost, resting as she worked. I want to cross Jordan in a calm time, she was singing again. The mood of the love feast had returned. She threw back the lid of the basket almost gaily. Then, moved by both horror and terror, she sprang back toward the door. There lay the snake in the basket. He moved sluggishly at first, but even as she turned round and round, jumped up and down in an insanity of fear, he began to stir vigorously. She saw him pouring his awful beauty from the basket upon the bed. Then she seized the lamp and ran as fast as she could to the kitchen. The wind from the open door blew out the light, and the darkness added to her terror. She sped to the darkness of the yard, slamming the door after her before she thought to set down the lamp. She did not feel safe, even on the ground, so she climbed up in the hay barn. There for an hour or more she lay sprawled upon the hay, a gibbering wreck. Finally she grew quiet, and after that, coherent thought. With this stalked through her a cold, bloody rage. Hours of this, a period of introspection, a space of retrospection, then a mixture of both. Out of this an awful calm. Well, I done the best I could. If things ain't right, God knows 'tain't my fault. She went to sleep, a twitch sleep, and woke up to a faint gray sky. There was a loud, hollow sound below. She peered out. Sykes was at the woodpile, demolishing a wire-covered box. He hurried to the kitchen door, but hung outside there some minutes before he entered, and stood some minutes more inside before he closed it after him. The gray in the sky was spreading. Delia descended without fear now and crouched beneath the low bedroom window. The drawn shade shut out the dawn, shut in the night, but the thin walls held back no sound. That old Scratch has woke up now, she mused at the tremendous whir inside, which every woodsman knows is one of the sound illusions. The rattler is a ventriloquist. His whir sounds to the right, to the left, straight ahead, behind, close underfoot, everywhere but where it is. Woe to him who guesses wrong unless he is prepared to hold up his end of the argument. Sometimes he strikes without rattling at all. Inside, Sykes heard nothing until he knocked a pot lid off the stove while trying to reach the match safe in the dark. He had emptied his pockets at Bertha's. The snake seemed to wake up under the stove, and Sykes made a quick leap into the bedroom. In spite of the gin he had had, his head was clearing now. "My God," he chattered, "if I could only strike a light." The rattling ceased for a moment as he stood paralyzed. He waited. It seemed that the snake waited also. For the light! I thought he'd be too sick." Sykes was muttering to himself when the whir began again, closer, right underfoot this time. Long before this, Sykes' ability to think had been flattened down to primitive instinct, and he leaped onto the bed. Outside, Delia heard a cry that might have come from a maddened chimpanzee, a stricken gorilla. All the terror, all the horror, all the rage that man possibly could express without a recognizable human sound. A tremendous stir inside there, another series of animal screams, the intermittent whir of the reptile, the shade torn violently down from the window, letting in the red dawn, a huge brown hand seizing the window stick, great dull blows upon the wooden floor, punctuating the gibberish of sound long after the rattle of the snake had abruptly subsided. All this Delia could see and hear from her place beneath the window, and it made her ill. She crept over to the 4 o'clocks and stretched herself on the cool earth to recover. She lay there. "Delia! Delia!" She could hear Sykes calling in the most despairing tone as one who expected no answer. The sun crept on up, and he called. Delia could not move. Her legs were gone flabby. She never moved. He called, and the sun kept rising. "My God," she heard him moan. "My God from heaven." She heard him stumbling about and got up from her flower bed. The sun was growing warm. As she approached the door, she heard him call out hopefully, "Delia, is that you I hear?" She saw him on his hands and knees as she reached the door. He crept an inch or two toward her, all that he was able, and she saw his horribly swollen neck and his one open eye shining with hope. A surge of pity too strong to support her bore her away from that eye that could not fail to see the tubs. He would see the lamp. Orlando with his doctors was too far. She would scarcely reach the chinaberry tree where she waited in the growing heat, while inside she knew the cold river was creeping up and up to extinguish that eye, which must know by now that she knew.